This is Raceway Ministries Today. Thanks for joining us for Raceway Ministries Today. In just a moment, we'll be sharing with you the latest of what's going on in the world of Christian ministry and outreach through the National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to today's edition of Raceway Ministries Today. Raceway Ministries Today is the podcast platform for the National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries. My name is Roger Marsh. I'm the director, and we love having these opportunities to be able to visit with folks and talk about Raceway Ministries all across the country. And if you need to find out more about Raceway Ministries, there are several ways that you can do that. You can go to our website, racewayministries.org, or you can go to any one of our Facebook pages. We have several Facebook pages, one entitled Raceway Ministries, the other one is entitled Raceway Ministries at the Weekly Short Track, and then we have several individual Facebook pages for different ministries that we've created over the past couple of years. Iowa Raceway Ministries would be one of them, Middle Tennessee Raceway Ministries would be another. And then we also have a Facebook page entitled NFRM, I think it's entitled NFRM Refuel Conference. And so we'll be having lots of details on that Facebook page coming up over the next few weeks, specifically related to the Refuel Conference. But if you need to find out more about Raceway Ministries, you can go to our website and pretty much find out everything that you need to know. Today, I'm very excited to be able to have Glenn Spoolstra with me this morning. This is a Saturday morning, and Glenn Spoolstra is up in Chicago, and I'm in Texas, and we want to talk about the Refuel Conference that's coming up in January of 2025. And Glenn, before I let you introduce yourself, I do want to say to you, thank you for this Windy City coffee cup. Glenn has been director of Windy City Raceway Ministries for many years, and one day he gave me a coffee cup. It's kind of I guess just a beverage kind of a cup, hot or cold, I guess either one, but I use it for coffee. And Glenn, I want to say thank you, because this thing keeps coffee hot for a long time. I mean, it's not a Yeti, okay, but it does keep. I went deer hunting the other day, and the place where I deer hunt is about 2.5 hours from here, and I poured coffee into my Windy City beverage cup, and it kept the coffee hot for the hour and a half that I had to be able to drink it before I got close to where I hunted deer. So thank you for your coffee cup, and thank you for your leadership of Windy City Raceway Ministries. So Glenn, why don't you say hello and tell a little bit about who you are and what you do with Raceway Ministries.
Well, thank you, Roger. Appreciate you putting together this opportunity, and just want to say good morning, everybody, from cold Chicago, although it's warming up. It's supposed to be in the 30s today, so yay. That's a blessing.
Yes.
And I'm excited to be part of planning with Roger for the Refuel Conference. We've got a lot of cool things that God has put in front of us that we're anxious to share with you. We're hoping that this is going to be a tease. We don't want to show our whole hand, because we want you to come. And we also want you to get your friends excited. Carol and I were talking even just this morning that Raceway Ministries is super difficult to sometimes explain to our friends and colleagues at church or in Bible study or in small groups as to what it's all about. But guys, we need friends. We need more people to come alongside us and help. So we're hoping that this would give some sort of an explanation as to who we are, what we're going to do, kind of tease you about what God's put in front of us. And number one, man, let's start praying as to what God's going to do. Because we're excited. God's put a lot of stuff in front of us that it's been, when we sit back and look at what God's done, it's been amazing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sure.
Yeah, 2024 has been an exciting year, and Glenn and I have been very excited to discover lots of new ministry opportunities out there at the racetracks all across America, in addition to the routine things that we already do very well. And I appreciate Glenn and his partnership so much. He's actually been director of Windy City Raceway Ministries for how long, Glenn? How long have you been in that role?
Well, if you take the last 5 years that we haven't had a track.
Oh, yeah.
And I think about 15 to 17 years prior to that. So a little over 20, 22, something like that.
Yeah. As many of you know, NASCAR pulled out of Chicagoland Speedway a few years ago. Rumor has it that they may come back there sometime in the near future. We certainly hope so, because it's a great venue. But Glenn was director of the Windy City Raceway Ministries team for all those years that prior to the time that they NASCAR pulled away from there. And he also serves as our chairman of our board of directors. But on a personal note, he's been a great friend to me and a great partner in helping start and restart several Raceway Ministry teams over the past couple of years. And I really appreciate you for that, Glenn. Thank you so very much.
It's been fun. Thank you.
2024 was really exciting. I mean, we really came across some, not only were we able to start and restart some new ministries, as well as maintaining our strong ministries that do very well, but we discovered a lot of new ministry opportunities. And as we move into 2025, basically we're going to be following up on a lot of those new opportunities and some of the exciting projects that have been put on the calendar as a result of people that we've met and some of the experiences that we've had. But one of the highlights of every year is getting the year started with the Refuel Conference. Actually, this is going to be our 31st year of having these annual meetings. Many of you may know the history of Raceway Ministries. It started, back in the 90s, and our first annual meeting was actually in 1994. So this is going to be our 31st annual meeting, and we've been able to meet regularly every January to kind of kick off the year with people coming together for fellowship and worship and breakout sessions and informational, inspirational type gatherings. And it's quite a time. It's really a good time. So the 2025 Refuel Conference is coming up January the 17th and 18th. And that's going to be a Friday and a Saturday. So Glenn, if you would, talk a little bit about the logistics. What do people need to know about the location, the cost, how they can register? Kind of unfold some of that for us, if you don't mind.
Sure. As Roger mentioned, it's going to be January 17th and 18th. And we're going to start with a finger food hors d'oeuvre type thing, and then a inspirational speaker. And the inspirational speaker is going to be someone that is new to Raceway Ministries, not involved. But he's also happens to be my pastor / my nephew. And what's interesting is Tim preached a message about, now it's about 2-3 months ago. And it just hit in terms of who we are as representatives of God, ambassadors of God at the racetrack, and how we need to conduct ourselves, and how the Holy Spirit can take over and be able to empower us to do things that we're not thinking about.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start with that on Friday evening. And as Roger mentioned, Saturday, we're going to have time to be able to have different breakout sessions on different aspects of what it means to be a Raceway Ministries team, what it looks like, different things that God's put in front of us. We've got possible camper volunteers. We've got a strength team. We've got a bizarre 60s bus. We've got opportunities to partner tighter with IndyCar Racing Ministries. We've got opportunities to partner with WorldShare, who you may have seen some of the videos of the stuff that they did at Charlotte this year. That was the beginning of that relationship, and they're anxious to build on that. Where you can go to get involved and what you can do, and also not to miss the fact that we are ending with a fellowship meal on Saturday night. we don't want you to leave early on Saturday.
Yeah.
You want to stay to the very end, because we feel the end of the conference is going to be probably one of the most powerful moments of the conference, when we get to share the Lord's Supper together and ask God's blessing on a year, not just for Charlotte, not just for Martinsville, not just for Nashville, but for Raceway Ministries, as we come together as a team from across the nation and proclaim the gospel to all across the track, or all across the area. And we need everyone's help. We need volunteers to circumvent track boundaries and be able to go and help each other and things like that. So we're hoping to build some relationships, figure out where you fit in as a puzzle. And as the conference title talks about, a jump start. When you think about the fact that, and I guess that hits close to home, my car, these newfangled cars, my car emailed me and said, hey, I got problems with my battery. My battery's going dead. I can't get, and I actually can't get it in until the 19th, but it's gotten cold. It was 0 the other day. And, so my car's telling me that it needs a jump start. Yeah. Well, we need jump starts. Yeah, what do we do? Do we do the same thing every year? Do we need new ideas? Do we need new energy? And that's what we're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why we do these Refuel conferences. There's a lot of different benefits from it. Most of us are scattered all across the country throughout the year, from California to Florida and up to New England and all over the place. And the annual meeting is one opportunity that we have to come together face to face and enjoy fellowship. So that's a great thing to accomplish with these meetings. But the other thing is to discover some new ideas and new opportunities, new ways to reach people effectively with the gospel out there at the Speedway. Now, Glenn, I want us to kind of move through the contents of the annual meeting, the Refuel Conference, but I'm with you. I don't want to give it all away, okay? So we're just going to kind of hit the highlights, and maybe we can entice people to jump in and be a part of it. Now, the conference is going to be, and I have to be honest with you, I'm waiting for a final confirmation from the church, but I think we have it, January 17th and 18th at Parkwood Baptist Church in Concord, North Carolina, which is right there in the Charlotte area. Lots of things to see, lots of things to do. Actually, I wasn't able to be at the meeting last year because of surgery that I had, but I'm looking forward to coming back to Concord and to experiencing the Refuel Conference there at Parkwood Church. They did a fantastic job of hosting the meeting, and looking forward to it this year. The cost is $75 per person, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we set $125 at the cost for a couple, Glenn.
Correct.
And those prices are good between now and January the 1st, and they'll go up a little bit after January the 1st, I think, to $85 and $140, something like that. So it would be really good if everybody could pre-register. Now, Glenn, if you would explain a little bit about the pre-registration form and how we're getting everybody registered for this event. I know we have a link to a Google form. Talk a little bit about how people can find that and register and pre-register for the Refuel Conference.
So, and you caught me by surprise.
Okay,
because
sorry about that.
I did not look specifically. I know it's on the website. It's under the resources, or the conference, or the resources?
Yeah, we've just redone the website, so it's all kind of new to us. That's why we're kind of fumbling around here. But I think we put the pre-registration link on upcoming events, on an upcoming events page on the website. So on the new website, racewayministries.org, we have a home page, we have a donate page, news page, how to get involved, that kind of thing. And I think there's one of the menu selections that's called upcoming events. And so far, it exclusively has the Refuel Conference on it. And I think the registration button is there. So when they go to the registration button and press that, explain a little bit about the form that they're going to fill out.
Yeah, one of the nice things is, as Roger mentioned, that we redid the website. And one of the reasons we did that is because our giving platform that we've been using for a number of years actually got bought out by an organization called Ministry Brands. And they offered us a package where we now have a full database. We have our giving platform. We have a website platform. We have a streaming platform, which we haven't implemented yet, but we're planning on using. And we also have a media platform, which basically provides a lot of background stuff. This organization is basically geared around churches and nonprofits, and being able to communicate with congregations and or groups of volunteers such as you guys. And so one of the things we did is now, instead of having to go to Eventbrite and sign up and things like that, the form is built right into our overall platform, and it will record all your information, and it will be able, you can pay via credit card, you can pay via Venmo, Google Pay, all the latest and greatest. That it all does that for us automatically, whatever works for you guys. And or if you want to send in a check, the address is listed there, so you can just print out the form and fill it out and send in a check. And it's coming to, we've established a new address. Our address is 228 West Lincoln Highway, PMB, which is personal mailbox number 117, and that's in Cherville, Indiana, 46375. Yeah. It's about a mile and a half from my house, but it gives us the ability to basically have an address that is recognized not as an individual, but as an organization.
Yeah. Hey, and just as a side note, Glenn, one of the reasons I wanted you to talk about that is our Raceway Ministry teams can participate in this ministry brand's Amplify management software. It's actually designed to be a church management software for enlisting volunteers, scheduling volunteers, and doing church websites and all the other, but we simply have adapted it for Raceway Ministries use, and any of our teams can jump in and participate in that. So it's a great tool. I know many of our teams are using different data management systems, church management software. Some of them are using different kinds, but this one is available to our Raceway Ministry teams. So if you want to sign up for the Refuel Conference, you can do it right there on our website. And we'll be sending the link for registration out by email. We'll be sending it in newsletters. It'll be on the Facebook pages and so forth. So if anybody wants to register with that link, they can. And for all the old school people, if you don't have an email, I'll look through the database, and all the people that don't do email, I'll be sending out a paper form by land mail to you. So we want to give plenty of opportunities for everybody to pre-register for the event. And then we'll also be seeking sponsorships for this meeting. We've had great response over the past few years with people jumping in to help sponsor the Refuel Conference, and we'll be offering that opportunity again as well. So that's a little bit about the logistics. We have a hotel. Glenn, I think you hooked up with Holiday Inn Express in Charlotte on I-85, right. Concord. And I went there the other day and booked my rooms. And so that'll kind of be the primary hotel if people want to check in there. We'll be putting on the website all the contact information for the hotel as well if you want to stay there, where many of the people will be staying who are attending the conference. Prices are very reasonable. And I think they have plenty of openings at this point. So, but feel free to check in at whatever hotel chain you typically use. That'll be okay.
Roger.
Too. Yeah.
I need to offer a moment of personal confession as well, so you guys don't make the same mistake. Okay. Good. I did not look up Parkwood Baptist Church. I Googled it, and it said Gastonia. And I remembered when Jim Evans moved to Charlotte area, he lived in Gastonia. So I'm saying, okay, that's close. So I booked my hotel as a non-cancelable hotel. And then Roger and I were talking the next day and realized that I had booked in the wrong hotel, because that was an hour and 27-minute drive. So I Googled that. Yeah. And so make sure that you're looking for Concord, yes, and the Parkwood Baptist Church in Concord, and also the hotel in Concord. There's a bunch of them, and there is a link on the registration form for the hotel. Yeah. So that is a link, and I was able to shift my reservations, by the way, guys. So
good for you. Good.
But
good.
There is when I made my reservations the other day, there was only, I think they said like 8 or 10 rooms left. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So,
Better do it quickly then.
right.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. I mean, there is a Parkwood Baptist Church in Gastonia, but everybody just heads up, we're in Concord, not Gastonia. So
Yes.
make sure you go to Parkwood Baptist Church in Concord, and the hotel. Make sure you get your hotel in Concord. Other than that, there's lots to see around the Charlotte area, of course. NASCAR Hall of Fame, museum, a lot of race shops, Charlotte Motor Speedway, a lot of things to see around the area. So, if you want to do any sightseeing, make sure you get there a day or two early, and then maybe stay a day or so afterwards and experience all the things around Charlotte. All right, well, Glenn, let's kind of jump into the meeting itself. Like I said, I don't want to give too much of it away. But as far as the theme, I love the theme of Jumpstart. You described it very, very well. Many of our Raceway Ministries teams, they do well. They're very faithful. They are very innovative, cutting edge, very effective in their gospel outreach. But it's really easy to drift off into kind of a humdrum, here we go again attitude with Raceway Ministries from year to year and event to event. And the truth of the matter is, we all need a jump start from time to time. And Glenn has described that very, very well. So that's going to be the theme of the meeting. And as Glenn said, on Friday, we're going to kick it off with some casual fellowship with finger foods and desserts and drinks, and then have an evening session with some worship. And then Tim, now, Glenn, pronounce his last name for me. I can write it down, but pronouncing is a different story. So how do you say his last name?
It's Huizinga.
Okay. All right.
It's a good old Dutch name.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. Well, Tim is going to preach on Friday night after we have some worship time, and I really am looking forward to that. I listened to part of his message on YouTube channel, and from Philippians 1:27, which is going to kind of be a theme verse for us, and really, really some good stuff. Kind of has my fire lit for getting a jump start and getting things rolling again, helping us to get serious about the gospel and keeping the main thing, and really kind of upping the standards for who we are and what we do. Very, very important stuff. So that's going to be on Friday. And then Saturday is basically going to be a series of about 6 or 7 sessions that'll last for 45 minutes each, separated by 15-minute breaks. And then we'll have an extended lunchtime in the middle of the day and cap it off at the end, like Glenn said, with a fellowship meal and the Lord's Supper, celebrate communion together. So it's going to be good. Now, the first session that we have on Saturday morning is going to be something that we hit on all the time, characteristics of a healthy Raceway Ministries team. I think it's very, very important, especially in light of what we're talking about this year, that our teams understand that they need to keep their team healthy and strong, and there need to be certain components that are part of who they are and how they do their business that keep things in the realm of excellence. So, Glenn, I don't want to say too much, but I think we're going to have that session introed by maybe a representative from NASCAR who is going to help us understand from an external perspective what's expected of a Raceway Ministry team when we're on NASCAR property. Now, we've not talked about that a whole lot before, but I'm really excited to have this segment of that information as a part of this session, because there are expectations on the part of NASCAR and any sanctioning body, really, or any local ownership, president of the Speedway, guest services director, whatever, some expectations that are there. And frankly, Glenn, I think sometimes we've not paid close attention to the high standards that are expected from that perspective. Would you agree?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and I take it again from personal experience. I mean, I remember the phone call I got from the track president when Chicagoland was closing. Granted, that was due to COVID, but then never reopening after that. And we're all, we so many times we get caught up in the fact that, oh, wow, this is our opportunity, this is our track, this is our space and our our opportunity. But this is a privilege. This is not a right, and we're on other people's turf. And and you all know this, but I think it's getting exciting because God's opening doors, which we'll talk about with the book and stuff too. But it's a negotiation where we go in and we talk and we say, hey, this is going to meet my expectation, but what's your expectation?
Yeah.
What do you need? Roger and I have done that in some of the last tracks that we've reopened. And we've sat down with track management to say, we are here to help you. And case in point, the facility in Newton, Iowa, and Tyler Clement is, and the other thing is that NASCAR is putting folks in regional opportunities. Tyler sits in Iowa, but he's responsible for Chicagoland Speedway and Route 66 Dragway, which is still running. And he's also responsible for Kansas as well as Iowa. And we sat down and we said, what do you want? And he said, well, I need tram ambassadors. And we said, okay, well, that doesn't fit into our ministry perspective. It's not something that, we're willing to do it, but it's not what we want to do. And he said, I'll make you a deal. He said, you come in and do that solidly, and I'll open up doors for you next year.
Yeah.
And God has been faithful. We did that. Some of you may hear about some very sore bottom ends that from riding on those trams for 3-4 days.
Yeah.
But Tyler was so impressed with our folks because our folks made it fun. We had a church that came alongside us and made dozens and dozens of cookies, and people were looking forward to getting on the trams because they were getting free homemade cookies.
Yeah.
And that type of thing has now opened doors where, Lord willing, we're going to be campground ambassadors. We're going to be tram ambassadors. We're going to have info booths. We're going to be able to have a facility in the fan zone and things like that. So you have to look at creative ways and or compromises that we may have to do. We do not compromise the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we do not compromise in talking to the track management that we are here to talk about Jesus, number one, and facilitating the track is number two. But as long as they can handle that, and if we're honest with that, God can open doors. Yeah. And we just need to look at it that way.
Yeah, and my experience, I think you would agree with me, Glenn. 2024, we had more opportunities to have Zoom calls and sit-down visits with Raceway management, guest services people, track presidents, operations people than we've ever had before. And the thing that said to me was, we need to really make sure that we have our act together in an excellent way to be able to meet the standards that are expected from their point of view. So it's a little bit different perspective than what we've had before. It's not that we are not welcome there, but we have to earn people's trust, and we have to demonstrate that we're sincere and flexible. And what Glenn described at Iowa Speedway could be repeated several times at different speedways. So that's the external part of it. So, from an external point of view, we need to make sure our Raceway ministry teams are healthy and strong. And then from an internal perspective, there's some things that I've observed about our Raceway ministry teams that we just need to make sure that we're good and tight and have standards of excellence to make sure that we stay on top of things. Part of that so that when we make a transition of leadership, for example, in a team, that goes smoothly and we don't end up losing the team because preparations haven't been made for a transition in leadership and so forth and so on. So a healthy Raceway ministry team, very, very important. Now, session 2 is going to be something that Glenn referred to earlier, new opportunities and new connections for 2025. Now, Glenn, don't want to give away all the details, but you mentioned IndyCar, you mentioned Gathering of Nomads, you mentioned World Share, MRO. Let me just start with MRO. This past year, we were able to hook up with our friends and partners at Motor Racing Outreach to help them set up their community ministry tent in the driver parking lot at speedways. I did that at 3 or 4 speedways, and it really opened up the door for some more partnership with MRO. So looking forward to that for sure. And then on the IndyCar side, I'll just start with this. Glenn and I went and assisted with the ministry to fans in the campground at the IndyCar finale race at Nashville back in September. And we ran into some tremendous opportunities there to expand what we do in relationship with IndyCar. Not that we've been uninvolved with IndyCar in the past, but it looks like we're going to have a renewed start. Part of that is an old friend of mine, George Del Canto, who has an organization called Kingdom Racing. And they've been involved in promoting several different events at the track by having maybe underprivileged or terminally ill children come to the track and visit with the drivers and have some good ministry opportunity there, as well as some events at some of the churches near the Speedway. So I was able to hook up with him, and from our experiences in years gone by at Texas Motor Speedway, we kind of reignited a relationship there. And then Glenn, talk a little bit about the fan zone and opportunities there in the fan zone with IndyCar ministry.
Yeah, I had the opportunity. I met, well, actually, God, again, this is a God thing. Carol and I were on a camping trip going up to Door County, which is one of our favorite spots up in Wisconsin. And we camped overnight, or no, for a weekend at the Milwaukee Mile. And I did not know that there was an IndyCar race, and actually a double header IndyCar race at the Milwaukee Mile. And I actually had the opportunity to talk to a couple of the IndyCar chaplains there a little bit. But then I pursued that when I got home, and I met Ron and Tammy, who are the volunteer coordinators. And then they found out that they were going to be in Nashville, and that's what Roger was referring to. Anyhow, we've talked with them. We've talked with the lead chaplain, and they're looking for us to come alongside them in some of the tracks to get started where we overlap. So, for instance, Milwaukee, Nashville, Worldwide, and Iowa overlap with IndyCar there. And so again, to enhance the relationship with the track management, where Raceway Ministries can provide more benefit, we're saying, hey, maybe we can expand our ministry to include those races and be able to garner more relationship. And they're very interested in working with us, and they've got some resources as well that I think will benefit us, and we've got resources that can benefit them. So. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be a neat partnership put back.
Yeah, and at the conference, we hope to have some of those personalities actually in attendance at the meeting to talk a little bit about that. We'll expand a whole lot more on those opportunities with IndyCar. Now, Glenn, the same thing with Gathering of Nomads and World Share. Don't give it all away, but kind of briefly describe what each one of those is, and maybe a sneak preview of our plans to interact with them. One of my,
hopefully Carol can't hear me. One of my dreams is I would like to be a full-time RVer. We're in our rig about 15, 16 weeks this past year. So anyway, but I happened to come across an article in Outreach Magazine that talked about Gathering of Nomads. And essentially, this is a group of Christian families, full-time RVers from around the country that are looking. They literally go into campgrounds, spend a couple of weeks, and look for ways to share the gospel, whether by Bible studies, whether by just inviting people to their tent or their camper for a fire or whatever. And I reached out to the executive director, and we had a conversation. And then Roger and I did a Zoom call with them, and they are very excited, and their members are very excited about finding out about track opportunities near them.
Yeah.
And these guys can come in and help from a standpoint of being able to help as campground ambassadors, being able to help as regular volunteers. And what's cool is, again, it's a different perspective. They've got a different view. A lot of these folks have zero understanding of NASCAR. So they're going to have different eyes than we do. that have been around a while, so we can learn things from them and they can learn things from us.
Yeah.
And that also led to a relationship with one of their members has her own nonprofit called World Share, and their goal is to get NASCAR. Their first experience in a NASCAR was at Charlotte right after the hurricane, and they had a campsite in the infield, and they put together an assembly event of all kinds of what they call impact kits, which help kids in under-resourced neighborhoods. And they were actually able to put together 650 kits that actually went to Greg and Greg Berkey at ARO and Alan Huffman from NCN, and they were able to distribute those to kids in the Western Carolinas to help with hurricane relief. But these guys are looking to expand that and want to do that in a relationship with us as well.
Yeah. And again, at the conference, we'll be talking in more detail and hopefully have some of those personalities at the meeting to be able to meet face-to-face with some of our attendees and find out more information about how that's going to work. So very exciting stuff. Now, the next session is going to be resources and creative ideas for ministry. And 2 or 3 things that Glenn's already referred to will be described in detail there, hopefully with the personalities also in attendance. So Glenn, talk about Kevin Kent briefly, Mike Gruppen, and what they do specifically, and just briefly mention how they're going to be involved in the conference.
Okay. Both Kevin and Mike, I've ministered together for a long chunk of that 20 years that I was at Chicagoland, because actually I met Kevin through Jim Evans back in the day. Kevin basically came to the Lord in the infield at Michigan through the ministry of a band called River. And Kevin was a heavy druggie and did everything in a lifestyle that went along with that. And one of his friends' name was Bob. Bob had a party bus, and it was an old 60-something Bluebird party bus that was decked out in psychedelic stuff and things like that. And when God got a hold of Kevin, Bob passed away through an overdose. And Kevin said, I need to tell all my friends about Jesus. And Kevin will share his story as to how he's done that and what he's doing, and the opportunity that he's trying to develop of bringing his party bus more and more. Kevin he historically does both races at Michigan. He does a lot to Talladega and things like that. So he's very intent on building the ministry of being able to expand. Mike Gruppen is a gentleman that had a small strength team that came to Chicagoland, and those of you that might remember, that are old enough like me to remember phone books, well, the Chicago phone book used to be about that thick, and he would rip those in half.
Yeah.
And bend pots and things like that, and preach the gospel as he was doing it. Mike has since developed into what they call the Conqueror Strength Team. You can find them on Facebook and on the website, and they're now traveling the world in presenting the gospel. And there are times that he's been in India and Pakistan and had thousands of folks come to the Lord through their ministry. And Mike is taking the strength team and wants to bring it into more of a domestic scenario more and more, and he's looking for venues to be able to present that. That's where we fit in. We have relationships with venues that I think if we present this to track management, say, hey, we've got ways that we can enhance your fans' experience and have fun, and present the gospel at the same time. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, really is. And those things go over so well. I can recall several years ago at Atlanta Motor Speedway, I went out to help them one weekend, and they had a Christian wrestling team out in the campground. and it attracted hundreds of fans from the campground for several different wrestling matches. And again, they share the gospel as well. They ended up putting them in the fan zone to do a demonstration as well. So a lot of opportunities with that kind of thing. And so these are creative ideas and new resources that we want to present at the annual meeting, the Refuel Conference. And then we have a new book called Sundays at the Track. And you probably have seen promotions of it on Facebook, and I need to get it on the resource page of our website as well. But Sundays at the Track is a great little book that Glenn and I came across, authored by a guy named Lee Weeks. We were contacted by Baker Publishing Company to see if we might be interested in the book at all. And so we've ended up purchasing 1,000. In fact, Baker's producing a paperback version of the book specifically for us to be able to distribute. And so we purchased 1,000 of those. And I think this is going to be a great outreach tool for our teams to be able to put in the hands of people, race fans that they come across. I think it's 36 chapters, Glenn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 34 or 30. I don't have my copy handy. It's either 34 or 36.
Yeah, but every chapter is either a NASCAR driver, a pit box guy, or
broadcast personalities, car owners.
Yeah, Larry McReynolds is in here. I mean,
Darrell Waltrip,
Marcus Smith is in here. Just Ross Chastain's mother. I mean, all kinds of stories in here. Short chapters that reflect not only the racing experience of these people, but also their faith and trust in Jesus. So it's a great outreach tool. We've made it available on the Facebook pages, I believe, and I need to put it on the resource page of the website as well. But we're going to be talking about that in a big way at the Refuel Conference. In fact, I think we're going to try to arrange to have a complimentary copy of the book for everybody that attends the conference. I think that's one of the things we talked about with the Baker Publishing Company.
Right.
So
one of the things to throw out, Roger, too, is the thing that's really cool for those of you that are at the weekly venues with the short track guys is the stories, and I say stories, but these are testimonies of how God worked in these guys' lives. But the number of these guys that have come up through the ranks, started in legend or started in go-karts, went to short tracks and stuff. Yeah. This is a phenomenal resource for us to be able to hand out to people and get them excited about what God can do. Yeah. And it'll have Raceway Ministries on the back of it and our website. And Lord willing, people will be able to reach back out and say, hey, I learned about this. I want to find out more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be a great tool for both the large speedways and the weekly short tracks, for sure. And I think the copies are going to go for $10 a piece. And then if you order multiple copies, I can't remember where the break is, but multiple copies, you can get them for $8 a piece. And we'll outline all that on the website. But the book, the paperback version actually won't be out until probably after Christmas. And the hardback version currently is available. I think it was released on December the 3rd or something like that. So really excited about introducing this book. And so we want to make the most of it and talk about it at the Refuel Conference as well.
And I mentioned my Dutch heritage, which typically most people see us as frugal and cheap. Yeah. So what I will mention is those of you that are, and what our goal is, and the way we're planning on distributing this, is we are going to provide a quantity for each ministry team. You need to let me know what you're thinking, because we're going to provide this at no cost. We are offering the opportunity for the rest of us to be able to sign up, and I just changed it to if you sign up for a $15 monthly donation, you'll get a free copy of the book. Yeah. And we would ask that you consider that, because Raceway Ministries has invested $6,000 in this book. But we feel so strongly that has to get out, that we are willing to support the ministry teams, and these books will be going to people at the tracks. Yeah. And if you're a short track guy, if you're a large venue leader, let us know how many you want, because my plan is to be cheap. I'll bring them to the conference, and you can go home with them.
Yeah.
Because I'm supposed to pick them up probably the week between Christmas and New Year's, and then I'll drive them down to the conference. So we'll have them there, because otherwise, they're relatively expensive to ship. So we want to get them in your hands.
Absolutely.
And then, but tell your friends about buying them as well, because that will help augment the cost. But if you could donate toward that, that would be huge, because that's a large chunk of our budget that's gone to that. But God's put that tool in our hands. So we want to take advantage of that and be faithful stewards of what he's given us.
Yeah, and we've already had one source that has donated $500 toward the books. And if we get more donations like that to sponsor being able to give the book to teams and chaplains free of charge, that would be even more awesome. So if you maybe have a chunk of change that you'd like to donate toward that cause, make a donation. There is a place on the menu on the donation page for the Raceway Ministries that actually is entitled Sundays at the Track. And if you'd like to donate toward that, that can help put the book into the hands of some chaplains and Raceway Ministry teams without charge. So be sure and do that. Well, Glenn, we need to move along and talk about the rest of the conference. After we have a lunch break on Saturday, we're going to be talking about ministry at the weekly short track. And basically that whole session will be devoted strictly to some vision casting and dreaming about expanding our short track ministry. We have lots to do in that regard, but we have a lot of people that are involved in short track ministry. So we're going to outline some things that we can do to enhance and expand that as we move into 2025. And then we'll give an opportunity for people to just simply talk about what happened to their short track during 2024. Then from there, we'll move on to kind of a nuts and bolts session, talking about Raceway Ministries as a national organization for 2025. Several things we will talk about there: organizational structure. We'll introduce our board members. We do want to talk a little bit about the software that we've run into for data management, Ministry Brands Amplify. Lots of opportunities there for our Raceway Ministry teams that might want to get involved and take advantage of the communication, mass communication opportunities there, websites, streaming, and all those different things. And then we'll talk a lot about budgets and budget support. We want to continue to move toward being able to have a strong enough budget to employ an executive director in a full-time way. And so we need to continue to kind of beat the drum and talk about financial support and what's needed there. And then we also want to introduce an idea that Glenn and I reflected upon, and that is creating a network of Raceway Ministry churches that accomplish a couple of things. One is they can become sponsors for a local Raceway Ministry team. They can help out financially. And then they also can be a receiving church for anybody that lives locally that may have found Jesus at another Raceway far away, to take them in and begin to disciple them and to nurture them and help them to grow spiritually. So I want to introduce that idea of Raceway Ministries Church Network as well. Anything you want to add to that as far as nuts and bolts, Glenn? That's really not going to be a business session. It'll be a reporting session of kind of where we are financially and so forth as Raceway Ministries, but a lot of things to promote there as well.
Yeah, especially the Ministry Brands Amplify, because it's going to give the teams the opportunity to, I remember when I was doing this, I had spreadsheets and stuff, but I had no effective way to, and everybody's paying for their own constant contact or MailChimp and things like that. This all comes as part of the package with Ministry Brands. You can have your team all isolated and be able to communicate with them via text message, via email, via voicemail even, all included in what we're paying on a monthly basis. Yeah. So it's real easy.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to promoting that to our teams. And like I said, many of them already have church management software that they're using for this sort of thing. But we've come across this Ministry Brands Amplify thing, and it's really, really slick. I'm really excited about that. The final session of the evening will be, or the afternoon will be kind of a Q&A. We'll have an open mic there on the floor, and people can ask questions, share ideas, voice concerns or whatever, or just simply if they want to report kind of what happened at their speedway during 2024 and what they have plans for ministry activity in 2025. So we'll wrap it up with that. And then I'm really excited about having the closing session with an evening meal, and then also followed by the Lord's Supper and communion together. That'll be a great way to launch us out into a brand new Raceway Ministry season for 2025. Glenn, I don't know about you, but I am super excited about this Refuel Conference. A lot of stuff that we're going to cover, and we have a lot of work to do to get ready for it. PowerPoint presentations and things to pull together. And I looked on my reservation at Holiday Inn yesterday, and it told me that we are 42 days away from checking into the hotel. So we got a lot of work to do in a short time to do it. And we have Christmas and New Year's to celebrate in between. But I'm excited about it. How about you?
I am too. I'm looking forward to what God's going to do, and I encourage you guys to be in prayer. Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
I mean, we prayed for all the different venues over the course of the year, and now it's time to pray for each of ourselves. Yeah. In terms of, God, what do you want me to hear? What do you want me to do? What's my puzzle piece, and where does that fit into the Raceway Ministries puzzle that God's given us across the country?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I remember several years ago, we had a fatality at Texas Motor Speedway. And so I got with our chaplain, and we headed up to Wichita Falls, Texas, up north of where we live here, to have the funeral for a young lady that had passed away. And the chaplain actually was invited to speak at the funeral. So he went, preached a great message, and the funeral went really well. We visited with the family after the funeral service was over, and then we got in the car to come home. And I sat there in the passenger seat. My friend, chaplain friend, sat there in the driver's seat, and I kept waiting for him to turn the key and start the car so we could go home. And he just sat there, and he just kind of stared at the dashboard, and tears began to run down his face. And he looked over at me and he said, "Just imagine we get to do this," you know. And it really reminded me of the fact that what we do is a privilege, like you say. And, you know, we've prayed for opportunities to expand and opportunities to create some new relationships. And God has put that in our laps in 2024 and given us the opportunity to follow up with it in 2025. And so that's what we're going to be all about. Like Glenn said, helping each one of us define where we fit in the general scheme of things. How does our piece of the puzzle fit into the big picture? And so Refuel is going to be a great opportunity to be able to jumpstart ourselves individually, jumpstart our teams, and be ready to launch in 2025 with a lot of vision and a lot of excitement. So thank you, Glenn, for helping this morning share with it. My goal was for us to do this in 20 minutes. We've gone a little bit over 20 minutes. But that's okay. We've got a lot of information out there. Hopefully that'll encourage people to come be a part of Refuel. Don't forget, folks, January 17th through the 18th, Parkwood Baptist Church in what city, Glenn?
It's Concord, New Hampshire, North Carolina.
Please don't go to New Hampshire for this meeting. We're going to be in Concord, North Carolina at Parkwood Baptist Church. And so book your hotel, make your plans, and look forward to a great conference. So Glenn, thank you. Any parting words?
No, look forward to seeing everybody there. And if we don't get a chance to talk, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you have a wonderful time celebrating the birth of Jesus and launching a new year, January 1st, 2025. Well, that wraps it up. Again, this is Raceway Ministries Today. And if you need any other information about Raceway Ministries, you can go to our website, racewayministries.org, or you can go to our Facebook pages, Raceway Ministries at the Weekly Short Track, NFRM Refuel Conference. All those Facebook pages will give you information about who we are. And you can go to our YouTube channel and pick up some of the other podcasts that we've done in the past. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in today to our Raceway Ministries Today podcast about the Refuel Conference 2025. See you there. We hope you'll tune in next time as we continue to explore Christian ministry and outreach in motorsports through the National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries. If you'd like to learn more about the National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries, visit our website at racewayministries.org. Follow us on Facebook under the name National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries. Check out our podcast and videos found on our National Fellowship of Raceway Ministries YouTube channel. Meanwhile, thanks for joining us for this presentation of Raceway Ministries Today.